Are you actually a highly sensitive person? Today, we are going to dive into that and so much more. We will go into defining sensitivity, then hop on over to stigma and how to cope. To jump start us here, the definition of sensitivity, let me pull this up for you. Sensitive is defined by dictionary.com as quick to detect or respond to slight changes, signals, or influences. And I also like this secondary definition. It says having or displaying a quick or delicate appreciation of others' feelings. All right, so there you are. There's the definition. And to go into a little more depth, maybe you are sensitive to sounds, light, touch, taste, sense. Maybe you even have a sixth sense. So I know in my own experience, for example, I tend to be really sensitive to sound and light, particularly at night. And we're going to go into how to deal a little bit later. But this is a pretty good segue to talk about the stigma. So you may have experienced being highly sensitive as being perceived by others as a handicap, right? Where I have to walk around eggshells around you, or, it's better to be tough. A lot of young boys in American culture experience this conditioning. And I know that I myself have internalized my own version of this. It's this idea that to be, high maintenance and sensitive and to need things to be a little bit different in order for you to be comfortable, that it can be stigmatized, right? If there isn't this deeper understanding. And I also like to reframe it as you're not highly sensitive, you're just tuned in. You have access to a greater depth of information, kind of like how dogs can hear things that we can't hear. Highly sensitive people can maybe literally also hear things that other people can't hear because they kind of tune it out, either by learning to tune it out or because that's just how they naturally are. And many of my clients do identify as introverted, and introverts do tend to be more inverted, more into themselves in terms of their energy, because it can be overwhelming to plug into all the external stimuli. It can be overwhelming at times. One way that I cope with this is by understanding that while it may be burdensome to people who are either not sensitive or have denied their own sensitivity, it's okay. And that is their experience. They get to have that experience. And meanwhile, my experience is totally still valid. And, I can honor it by being mindful in certain situations. And this leads us to the next phase of boundary setting as a strategy for coping. So what I'd like to encourage you to do, if you're not doing it already as a person who's highly sensitive or even just basically sensitive, is to set boundaries from a healthy and empowered place with yourself and others, and be aware that there can be a period of time of what I call leaky energy, where maybe you're setting the boundary, but you're not fully embodied or rooted or confident in it. And people can feel that feeling behind setting the boundary more than you actually setting the boundary. So they may not be respected at first. So it is important to bridge that gap to feel fully embodied in your boundary setting. So a few examples here would be, let's say if you are renting an Airbnb, get in the habit of nonchalantly asking, are there blackout curtains in the room? Knowing that if there are blackout curtains, great. If they're not, maybe it's not for you. Nothing personal. These are your needs. You may also consider, let's say if you're dating, ask people up front, do you snore? Because maybe that's a deal breaker for you, and that is okay. When it comes to transforming your relationship with yourself and with others, really embracing what is true for you in terms of your innate sensitivity that maybe was pushed aside before, that maybe you'd like to really embrace more for all the positive attributes that it has. A lot of creativity can come from that sensitivity. What I'd like to encourage you to consider is getting some assistance in bridging the gap between being in that leaky energy of maybe thinking about or attempting to set boundaries and just being really rooted in it, and really not being available for people not respecting them, not in a way that is abrasive or rude, but is in more of a nonchalant, like, oh yeah, I deserve this. This is how I live my life. So if that is appealing to you, I have worked with a variety of people on these topics, and it's resulted in very tangible things. Aside from feeling good, feeling confident, more money, more and better quality relationships. So you can go on over to stephanietoma.com/coaching and apply for a one-on-one clarity call, and we'll see if we're a fit and working together. All right. I would love for you to comment below your takeaway in this video. What have you learned, or what has become clarified about your experience as a highly sensitive person? Until next time.